Keanu Reeves never sought loud fame. And yet, on this day in a quiet bookstore, his simple and kind act changed multiple lives at once. What began as a routine shift for one modest employee turned into a story no customer there would ever forget. And you'd never guess who ended up at the center of this conflict. Stick around, you'll enjoy this. Friends, before we dive into the events of this remarkable day, I kindly ask you to support this channel, click the subscribe button, hit the like button, and leave a comment below. It's not just a matter of numbers, your kind words and engagement truly inspire me to share more stories. Keanu Reeves walked into the spacious bookstore almost unnoticed. He wore a simple black t-shirt, dark jeans, and comfortable sneakers. A calm expression, a soft smile, and a polite hello in response to the guard at the entrance, that was all there was to see at first. He didn't stand out from the crowd at all, yet he naturally drew glances through his innate warmth. Still, he remained low-key, not trying to draw attention. He began looking at the shelves with interest, smiling back if anyone made eye contact. Among the staff was a shy young man named Neil, with short brown hair and a small hearing aid peeking behind his ear. He always wore a plain uniform top with the store's logo stitched in small golden letters just above the chest pocket. Neil genuinely loved his job, he adored books, felt relaxed by the bookstore's atmosphere, and chatting with customers helped him build the confidence he had worked on since childhood. It was a busy day, the store was running a promotional event, and people were streaming in to find newly discounted titles. Keanu, trying not to bother anyone, moved from one shelf to another, occasionally taking interesting copies off the racks. No one suspected that a world-renowned celebrity was right among them, everyone was focused on their own shopping. Neil was standing behind a low wooden counter, assisting visitors. Friendly and attentive, he gave each customer his undivided attention. He sometimes struggled if a person spoke too quietly or too quickly, his hearing aid didn't always catch everything perfectly. However, Neil's calm demeanor and genuine smile more than made up for any awkwardness. Most people appreciated his helpfulness and responded in kind. But tension was brewing at the far end of the store. A middle-aged man in a crisp light-colored shirt and expensive trousers walked in. He seemed tense, irritated before he even entered. Upon seeing that the staff member, a mere young guy with a hearing aid, was politely offering assistance, the man's expression hardened further. He appeared to be hunting for the slightest reason to unload his anger and prove his own superiority. Keanu, browsing near the new arrivals section, caught sight of the newcomer's unfriendly face. A subtle worry tugged at Keanu, and he decided to stay within earshot, though he had no plans to intervene just yet. The customer approached Neil's counter, demanding in a loud, abrupt voice that the store find him a rare book. He rattled off the title so quickly and with such a strange accent that it was hardly clear whether he'd enunciated it properly, almost as if he was testing the employee's competence. Neil politely asked him to repeat the title. The man immediately snapped, "Are you deaf or something? Or just pretending? If you can't handle a real job, you should quit." The words hit Neil like a bolt of lightning. Stunned, he took a breath and softly repeated his request. Outwardly, he tried to stay composed, but inside, his heart sank. Events escalated quickly. Nearby shoppers froze, hesitant to get involved. Keanu stood close enough to hear every word. Compassion and sorrow flickered in his eyes, he had long understood that some people boosted their self-esteem by belittling others. He felt bad for Neil, who, despite his physical condition, was doing his best to help everyone. Still, Keanu wanted to see if the young man could defuse the situation on his own before stepping in. But this customer, let's call him Mr. Hart, had no intention of calming down. Neil tried, as best he could, to look up the book in the store's database, yet Hart stared at him with open contempt. "Who are you to help me?" he barked. "You can't even speak or hear properly." His words harshly emphasized Neil's hearing difficulty. Keanu's fists seemed to clench slightly at the sight, though he stayed polite and reserved, ready to step up at any moment. The tension caught the attention of others. A few customers in the aisle turned their heads. Among them was Neil's friend and co-worker, Lena, a spirited young woman with a short fringe. Sometimes she teased Neil in a playful way to lighten the mood, but now, seeing him humiliated, she was at a loss. "Can I help you, sir?" she ventured timidly, but Hart brushed her aside. "I don't need anyone else's help, especially from the likes of you. I want this employee to do his job." His glare bored straight into Neil. That was the point where Keanu stepped in. He took a step forward, smiling politely, and said, "Excuse me, maybe I can point you to the section where you might find that kind of title." Hart took one glance at the man in a plain t-shirt and jeans and sneered, "Another expert? Go mind your own business if you don't work here." His tone was loud and dismissive, which only drew more stares. Keanu, remaining calm, merely signaled Lena to bring the store's updated catalog. "Could you, please? We might find the book listed there." Lena, who knew Keanu as a returning customer, he'd been in once or twice, was pleasantly surprised by his calm response. Hart, on the other hand, continued ignoring everything except his own anger. To him, Keanu was just a random bystander who had stepped in to defend an incompetent employee. Had Hart realized it was actually the famous actor, maybe he would have behaved differently. But lost in his own self-importance, he only prepared another outburst. A moment passed in uncomfortable silence until Hart decided to lash out again. "Why are you all looking at me like that? A guy can't get decent service in here. And you," he faced Keanu, "who do you think you are, anyway? Maybe you're jobless, wandering around in the middle of the day." Some of the onlookers seemed about to intervene, but Keanu motioned calmly that it was okay. Lena returned with the catalog, and Neil quietly said, "Here's the new arrivals list. But your book might be in our rare collection. Let me check." Before Neil could add anything, Hart cut him off. "See, you can't even tell me right away. What are you, pretending or just useless?" Neil tried to maintain his composure, but inside, he was rattled. Keanu turned to Lena. "Could you please get that catalog for me as well?" She nodded, eyes wide with concern. Then Hart barked, "So you're both rummaging around now? Great. Let's see if you can manage even that much." A kindly older gentleman stepped in. "Young man," he addressed Hart, "you're being unfair. This employee helps everyone. Maybe you weren't that clear yourself." But Hart immediately turned his aggression on him. "And who are you to preach to me? Another busybody?" The tension soared. Keanu set the catalog on the counter and quietly told Neil, "Don't take this personally." Hart, though, wouldn't back off. "Protecting him, are you? Maybe this employee is your relative or he's paying you." "He's no relation of mine," Keanu answered calmly, "but I can't just stand by when he's being insulted." "Oh, I see. And what makes him so special?" Hart got even nastier. "Look at him, can't even hear properly. How's he even fit for this kind of job?" Hearing that, Neil dropped his gaze for a second. A painful flashback hit him. He recalled childhood days when kids mocked him for not catching the coach's instructions during sports practice. Feeling powerless, he'd nearly abandoned all his hobbies. Over the years, he grew stronger, learned to cope. Yet, such cruel words still cut deep. Keanu noticed Neil's distress. Leaning closer, he whispered, "Don't let him destroy your confidence. You're doing fine." Neil nodded, tears threatening to surface. Meanwhile, Hart realized that everyone seemed to have taken the side of this nobody clerk and the random guy in a black t-shirt. His lips curled in disdain, and he raised his voice, "All right, let's see who's right. If you can't find me this book, I'm reporting you to your manager." He shot Neil a defiant stare, demanding immediate results. Neil flipped through the arrivals log, carefully repeating the title. His fingers trembled slightly, but he was focused on the task. At last, he found the listing. It turned out that the book was indeed in stock, but kept in a special display case in another part of the store. Neil looked up and said, "It seems we do have this book, but it's in our collectibles section. Let me show you." "Oh, so now you can tell me," Hart sneered. "Apologies, sir, I needed to check," Neil replied quietly. "Then lead the way," Hart ordered, waving Neil forward. Keanu followed along, discreetly nodding to Lena as if to say, "It's okay, I've got this." The older gentleman who had tried to defend Neil also trailed behind. He clearly felt the injustice, wanting to see it resolved. Reaching the glass case, Neil unlocked it and gently wiped dust off the rare leather-bound cover. He handed it to Hart. "Here you go. I hope this is what you were looking for." Hart examined it, gave a quick page flip, and muttered, "At least you managed that." He was about to tuck the book under his arm, apparently without a second thought to pay, when he noticed the price sticker on the back. The amount was no small sum. Collectibles cost more than standard copies. That riled him up even further. "What's this price? Are you all out of your minds? This book can't be worth that much." "Well, sir," Neil answered politely, "it's rare. The cost is justified by its rarity and, I don't care about your justifications. You're trying to rip me off." Keanu spoke up again, "May I see it?" Hart scowled, "Another brilliant idea from you. Here, look." Keanu carefully checked the cover. "It is a fairly rare printing. I tried to find a similar edition once. Believe me, the price is reasonable." Hart arched his brow mockingly. "Oh, so you know a lot, do you? Maybe you want to buy it yourself?" He gave a scornful laugh. "As if you could afford it." Keanu simply answered, "I'm not looking to purchase it, but I'm telling you it's priced correctly." He just wanted to help Neil and calm the aggressive customer. Finally, someone went to call the store manager. She arrived quickly, taking in the tense situation. Yet even with the manager present, Hart didn't change his tone. "Oh, great, here's the boss. I'm going to tell you everything your staff is doing wrong. And who's going to compensate me for my wasted time?" The manager, a tired-looking but calm woman, tried to speak with Hart. He immediately unleashed a barrage of complaints. "This half-deaf clerk is incompetent, and that guy," he pointed at Keanu, "I don't know who he is, but he's sticking up for this worthless employee. And you're all ripping me off with that price." The manager threw a cautious glance at Keanu. She recognized him but showed no sign. In a measured tone, she responded, "If you're not satisfied with the price, you don't have to buy it." Hart exploded. "Oh, really? I'll decide whether I buy it or not. And who says this place is fair anyway?" Neil, trembling from stress, tried to speak, "Can I do anything else to help?" But Hart practically tossed the book back at him. "You can't help me at all. You're too." He gave a pointed look at Neil's hearing aid. Keanu had enough. Everyone had heard the insults and the humiliations he hurled. As Hart floundered mentally for a graceful exit, Keanu turned to the manager with a soft smile. "Please, don't punish Neil. He's done nothing wrong. I'm sure he's a great employee who just encountered a rude customer." The manager nodded gratefully. Hart shifted from one foot to the other, eyes downcast, realizing too late how badly he'd behaved. Silence reigned until Hart mumbled, "I'm sorry. I didn't realize." Shame and fear flickered across his face, because he had not only belittled a store clerk but also disrespected someone held in high esteem by many. He tried to hand the book back. "Maybe I should still buy it." Neil, not wanting to rub his victory in, simply answered, "You can purchase it for the listed price, or we have a standard copy in the regular section." No trace of malice tinged his voice. Neil was still somewhat rattled, but also relieved to be vindicated. Hart, deeply embarrassed, glanced at Keanu. "Listen, I really didn't mean to offend you or," Keanu spoke gently, interrupting, "It's all right. I hope you'll learn from this." His tone held empathy, no condemnation. Had someone else been in Keanu's shoes, They might have unleashed a barrage of insults, but Reeves had no wish to humiliate Hart. He only wanted to help Neil, who no longer had to bear unjust abuse. The older gentleman who had first tried to defend Neil quietly added, "You see, we could all be kinder. It doesn't matter if someone hears perfectly or has any other condition." People around them nodded in approval. The atmosphere started to ease. Realizing he'd brought this upon himself, Hart apologized to Neil, who nodded. Words didn't come easily, but relief shone in his eyes. A few bystanders clapped softly, pleased that the situation had ended peacefully and that Keanu, with no fanfare or publicity, had stood up for the employee. Hart, burning with shame, tried to explain, "I was so stressed out today. Everything's gone wrong since morning," but nobody openly condemned him at this point. Everyone understood that his own remorse was punishment enough. The manager nodded to Neil in encouragement, as if to say, "It's all over." Then she addressed Hart, offering to complete his purchase if he still wanted the book. He nodded, pulled out his wallet, and paid without another complaint. You could tell he was trying to be polite now, not meeting Keanu's eyes. The transaction finished, he muttered a barely audible, "Thank you," took his book, and walked out of the store, not daring to look back at the actor he had insulted. Once Hart left, people gradually dispersed, returning to their browsing. However, a few walked up to Keanu to thank him for his intervention and express their admiration. Keanu only smiled modestly, repeating, "Anyone would have done the same in my place." He shook hands with the older gentleman, who said, "You have no idea how inspiring your example is. The world would be better if we all did that." Keanu shrugged, "It's just about not ignoring injustice." Then he turned back to Neil. The young clerk stood there, still a bit overwhelmed by what had happened. "Thank you," Neil said softly, "I never expected." Keanu smiled warmly. "I only did what I felt was right." "Don't lose your confidence, Neil. It's so valuable that you're friendly and willing to help others." Neil's face softened with gratitude. He remembered the toughest moments of his childhood, when no one defended him against bullies. Today, just when he thought he might crumble, someone stepped up, and that someone was Keanu Reeves, known worldwide for his humility and generosity. "I'll never forget this," Neil whispered, voice trembling. "I try to be strong, but sometimes a single person can knock you down." Keanu tilted his head slightly. "We all fall sometimes, but we have to get back up. And there are always people willing to help us do that." Lena returned, smiling brightly. "Neil, let me fill in for you a moment. You probably need a break." Neil thanked her and stepped aside, settling onto a small stool. Keanu approached him, adding, "You did great. This wasn't really your lesson to learn, it was his. And keep doing your job with joy. Don't let people like that rob you of your self-esteem." While Keanu and Neil chatted, some customers resumed their shopping, though others lingered, hoping for a photo or an autograph. Keanu, courteous yet firm, explained that he'd come just to read and pick out a few books, but he still responded politely to anyone wanting a quick hello. One staff member whispered to Lena, "Is he really that nice and humble? I can't believe it." Lena grinned, "Seems like he is. It's wonderful." Soon enough, the conflict faded, and a peaceful, almost celebratory mood spread through the store. A few people pretended to browse the shelves but were sneakily watching Keanu, who resumed flipping through novels as if nothing unusual had happened. Neil got back to work, still shaken yet filled with a fresh sense of determination, realizing that doing the right thing can pay off in unexpected ways. About half an hour later, Keanu finalized his choices, 2 rare editions of classic novels. He brought them to Neil at the register. Now calmer, Neil joked, "Could you spell out the titles again? Just in case I fail to hear them." Keanu laughed softly, "Sure," and read off the 2 titles. Neil rang them up, and Keanu remarked, "You inspire me, by the way. Not everyone with a hearing issue would put themselves out there talking to strangers all day." Neil shrugged, I love talking to people, even if I don't always hear perfectly. But I learn something new every time. When Keanu paid and thanked Neil, both realized it was a moment of farewell, yet it brimmed with warmth. It felt like a new friendship had formed, two people meeting by chance and changing each other in some small way. Neil felt a renewed assurance. Keanu confirmed his own belief that a simple intervention at the right time can profoundly affect someone's life. A few bystanders hovered closer, some discreetly recording the moment. Keanu waved, as if in thanks. "Thank you for your hospitality, Neil. And, thank you all." He gave a slight bow, and the onlookers clapped lightly, understanding that the actor didn't crave a big ovation. He headed for the door, while Neil watched this unassuming figure disappear behind the glass, feeling both a gentle sadness and a strong sense of pride. After the hubbub died down, everyone went back to their own affairs. Yet word of the incident lingered. Customers who'd witnessed it firsthand told their friends about the rude man who insulted an employee for his hearing impairment, only to find out a world-famous actor was standing right there. Soon, videos from those who had filmed it surfaced online, drawing thousands of views and comments. "Look how humble and kind Keanu Reeves is. That clerk with the hearing aid was so brave, he didn't crumble even when he was humiliated." For Neil, though, the most important transformation happened inside. He realized true acknowledgement of his worth mattered far more than a bully's insults. If someone treats you dismissively, it doesn't mean you don't deserve better. The key is to hold on to your sense of self, and in time, you'll find your own place. He was supported by Lena and other colleagues who commended his composure. His manager assured him there would be no complaints from that aggressive customer, only plenty of positive feedback. That evening, Neil left work feeling lighter, confident that small acts of kindness can work wonders, especially when reinforced by colleagues and even strangers. And what of heart? Perhaps he drove home in shame, perhaps he truly realized how terribly he had behaved. At least he learned that pride and arrogance ultimately humiliate the one who wields them. Onlookers saw how the illusion of someone's superiority crumbled the moment genuine truth came to light. It's yet another reminder that anyone, no matter their appearance or status, deserves basic respect. Who could have predicted that an ordinary day at a bookstore would turn into an inspiring story, urging people to believe in the power of kindness? As Keanu himself might say, we can each do something to help the world if we pay attention to others and don't hesitate to stand up for what's right. This tale is the best proof of that. Think about how often you perform small, kind deeds. It could be your intervention today that changes everything for someone tomorrow. Let this story be a reminder: if you encounter injustice, don't remain silent. A few caring words or the simplest gesture can spark a positive chain of events. And it doesn't matter if you're a movie star or just an ordinary store clerk, true worth is measured not by status but by action. Thank you for reading or watching until the end. Don't forget to subscribe, give a thumbs up, and share your thoughts in the comments. Who knows, your words could be the encouragement someone else needs. Take care, and see you soon.